Listen, Senator, I want to hear your perceptions of this particular election, knowing how dissatisfied you are with both parties with regard to addressing some of the big issues that continue to affect the U.S. and its budget and its future, whether it's entitlements or deficits or spending. You take it.
Well, you know, I don't want to be Johnny One Note on this stuff, but I think this election is going to be chaos. And I think there's another thing I think about it. I think all this polling going on, you know, everybody's accusing everybody else of lying, and I think people that get a delight in lying to pollsters. That's my personal view. I know it's a sick one. I know that. I think they get a real charge out of that. But anyway, you can go on and find every single presidential candidate, the past, present, and now, Lord's sake, as soon as this election is over, we'll be talking about 2020 instead of the real things in life, which is the budget and the entitlements and the solvency of Social Security. We're not talking about throwing old ladies out in the street. We're talking about the fact trustees are saying you're going to waddle up to the window in 2034 and get a check for 23% less. I mean, anyone with a brain knows this, and yet you do nothing. And you know, guy, he could buy your whole studio and he'd get a heart operation for $250,000 and never get a bill. I mean, who the hell's kidding who? This is nuts. So,
no, and you know, Senator, before you go any further, I just like the public to know how the growth has been. I took the four biggest programs that eat up the budget, what they were in 2012 and what they are today. Medicare, Medicaid at the top, 2012, $800 billion, today $1.1 trillion. Social Security, $761 billion in 12. Fast approaching $1 trillion now. Defense spending $655 billion in 12, $670 billion now. Almost a lateral move there. And interest expense, this is eye-popping, $224 billion in 2012, $329 billion right now. So yes, these numbers portray what you're talking about, but both sides seem to be adverse to tackling this problem. It's not Democrats or Republicans, both of them. So what do you say to them? What does a voter do in the booth today that could affect the future in that regard?
Well, unfortunately, the young people have no voice, and until they sober up or get serious, nothing is going to happen because they're the ones most affected. Anybody over 60 isn't even involved in the things that have to be done to correct this unbelievable $21 trillion debt in another few years. I mean, absolute madness. But to think that every single guy that gets elected is saying, let me tell you, I know the problem, but I can only tell you, I promise you, we'll not touch precious Social Security, precious Medicare, precious Medicaid, precious defense. Let me tell you, there's enough bloat in all of them to choke 15,000 cows. I mean, it's unbelievable stuff, and nobody's going to do anything. But the horrible part of it is, as I say, when this baby is over today, we won't be reading about the same things you just talked about. We'll be reading about who's who in the presidential race of 2020. I mean, it's madness.
Well, Senator, I agree with you, and hopefully at some point we'll get any administration to try to tackle these obvious problems. But at least up to this point, I think you're right. We're not going to be able to do much about it today on voting day. Thank you for joining me.